Hello, hello. It's Wednesday evening. Wednesday. Chappy stick. There. Hello. Okay, I'm going to share it out. I was hoping that my phone was going to cooperate today, but she hasn't yet. So we're just going live on... How are you? We're just going live on the Sha'Ryah channel, not the Sha'Ryah and Lorian channel. So just the one channel tonight on TikTok anyway. You can always catch me on multiple channels on YouTube as well as Facebook. All right, I got to share it out to some followers. So just give me a second. Where are you from? Where are you from? I need it. I should have brought my water in, but I only have tea. And it's almost too hot to drink. All right, next grouping of people. They only let you share it to so many people at a time. There she is. I'm going to do a check-in with the Ethereum Tarot, and then after that, we'll check in on the rest of it. There. Nice, me too. Alberta, actually. In Alberta. All right, so I do a few different things for those who don't know who I am. I was a registered nurse for over 20 years. I transitioned into a company called Mind, Body, Spirit, Healthy Self that I began because I realized that all components were really important to have a healthy self. And I have changed the company name to Sha'Ryah. I still specialize in trauma and nervous system and all of that, but I also branched into helping people with their ascension pathway. And I also publish books, and I make my own oracle and tarot cards. And that's what we're going to use tonight is the tarot cards that I created, which are the Ethereum Tarot. So we're just going to do a check-in right now and see what energy is coming out for the collective, and for those that are watching or going to be watching at some point. We'll see what the energy is for all of you. As apparently it's pretty big energy. So let's see, is there anything else? Okay. All right. I think we can call that good. It's quite a few. All right, let me organize. It's looking good so far. I mean, there's a couple of things that need addressing, but they always do. All right. We're going to start with the bottom. We're going to start with the bottom and work our way up. All right. So the 4 cards that came in the inverted position are these 4. This one is Temperance, which is major arcana. And when it's in the reverse, it's speaking about imbalance, impatience, disharmony, extremes, resisting flow, overindulgence, and disconnection from your higher guidance. Temperance reminds you that the greatest transformations happen when you allow balance to unfold naturally. Blend your energies, find the middle path, and trust that all things are merging into divine perfection. So we're meant to merge our masculine and feminine energies. That's a part of the merging, right? That balance of those energies. Every single one of us, whether we're male, female, or however we identify, how we all have masculine and feminine, and we're actually androgynous energetically. So, just explore it's just being in equal balance and utilizing the energy for the purposes that you need it for. So you step into your feminine when you're in the nurturing, and you step into your masculine when you're in the providing, and that's, just how you flow. But if you have distortions in any one of those, that can create challenges, right? If you have, any traumas with your father or any men that you've been with, or likewise with your mother or any women that you've been with, that can show up in issues with your masculine and feminine energy where you don't completely embody one or the other. All right, so we have the Ace of Earth in the shadow position. And when the Ace of Earth is in the shadow position, it can be speaking of missed opportunities, or maybe there's some financial insecurity. It could be that there's been delays, you're waiting for something to show up and it just hasn't shown up yet, or instability, scarcity, mindset could be affecting you here. And your mindset is extremely important. The more that you can allow yourself to sit within that calm space, and when things come up, actually work with them. My life has been far from perfect, and it still isn't perfect. And I think that, people looking from the outside might make judgments and believe that it's a certain way, but, it's not. So the thing is that I've gotten to the point where regardless what's going on, I maintain peace within me, because that's the only thing that I can control is me. And that's what we're meant to do, is learn that emotional mastery. So the Ace of Earth is a powerful omen of prosperity and new foundations. Whether it's a financial breakthrough, a career shift, or an investment, this is a time to plant your intentions and nurture them. Trust in the universe support. Your manifestation is taking root. So it may not be here yet, but if you can stay peaceful in the void, then it'll show up sooner than you expect. All right, we've got the Three of Earth that was also in the shadow. So a lot of earth that was in the shadow, but we'll see what we have in the upright position. So in the reverse, it's lack of teamwork, disharmony, unfinished work, and misaligned efforts. So maybe there's a relationship that's out of balance. And this could be a relationship that was fairly long-term, because we're looking at the earth element, and that's more of a long-term or a longer phase of energy. So with this, we are looking at assessing the relationships around you, making sure that there is an even give and take. It's not about perfection every single day. When we get to sacred union within ourselves, we flow between that feminine and masculine as we need it. We also go between structure and flow as we need it. And that's how that balanced nervous system works, right? If you see a child who is in a safe, secure environment, who has not experienced trauma, they're going to flow between those, whatever energies they need to. And they're also, when they experience something, they're going to return to baseline very quickly, because the experiences out there don't change who they are in here. And that's the peace that you're trying to attain. So figure out which relationships aren't aligned with you. And remember, if you let go the first time, it's often much, much easier, right? We oftentimes align ourselves with struggle because we refuse to let go initially. So the Three of Earth invites you to embrace cooperation as a powerful tool for growth. Whether working in a team, refining your craft, or building a dream, this card affirms that success is created through steady effort, shared vision, and dedicated skill. But it has to be both. Thank you. All right, we had the Nine of Earth in the shadow position as well. So like I said, a bunch of shadow. And the Nine of Earth, when it's in the shadow, is about overworking, dependence on others, lack of self-worth, fear of success, feeling unfulfilled despite your achievements. That's some pretty powerful messages that we're getting from that. And sometimes we have to, and one of the things that I found that we had to learn how to make, or how to move beyond, it was the concept of looking externally for validation. Because as we're looking externally for validation, we're never going to be fulfilled, right? Because external validation can change at any given moment. So we have to learn that we have to find it from within. So the Nine of Earth invites you to revel in the beauty of your accomplishments and recognize that your dedication has led you to a place of abundance and stability. Continue to nurture your success and know that true prosperity comes from confidence, gratitude, and alignment with your soul's purpose. Yeah, that's not fun. All right, we've got the Nine of Fire coming out. Now, these were the upright cards. So let's see what we have for the upright. A lot of interesting cards. It actually looks good. All right, so we have the Nine of Fire. The Nine of Fire, when it's upright, it talks about perseverance, determination, resilience, spiritual strength, standing in, or sorry, I can't read my own writing. I wrote on the back of my card. I can't even read the writing there. It looks like it says standing your ground. There we go. Standing your ground is what it said. I should. That's hilarious. The Nine of Fire reminds you that you are close to a breakthrough. Keep going. Trust your wisdom and let your fire guide you to victory. So the Nine of Fire, and I was like, it's a completion cycle, but what was that? Why? And it's because I thought it said growth, and I was like, why would standing your growth? It doesn't make sense. You know what? You just got to have fun with it sometimes. All right. So there's victory that's coming. You just have to make sure that aligned with your purpose and that you're, that you're clear with what you're heading towards. And this Aries season is coming. So with Aries season about to begin on the 18th, that's going to give us a lot of forward momentum and that energy that we're looking for. Okay. All right, we've got the Ace of Ether. The Ace of Ether is divine inspiration, higher awareness, cosmic connection, limitless potential, awakening, and divine gifts unfolding. So the Ace of Ether, the Ace of Ether is an invitation to step into your highest embodiment, to receive and transmit divine energy, and to trust that you are fully supported in your cosmic expansion. It is the purest connection to source, the beginning of all things, and the light that guides you home. And I think that's a beautiful message. So if you showed up right at that time, just, take that. All right. We have 2 cards remaining in the reading for the collective, and they are both major arcana. One is the Star, the other is the Wheel. When we're looking at the Wheel, it's always turning, and we want to catch it when it's on the upswing. And luckily we did with this card, because that means that we're looking at destiny, we're looking at change, we're looking at divine timing, cycles of life, new opportunities, and fate aligning in your favor, and also movement, right? We're constantly going. So the Wheel reminds you that nothing is stagnant. Everything moves in cycles. Embrace the rhythm of change, align with divine flow, and trust that each turn brings you closer to your highest path. It's not turning in a circle where it's just like this, you're going round and around, right? You're spiraling up. And as you spiral up, the lessons that you learn, the ones that you learn, that's what makes the ring get smaller, right? Because you're not going through those patterns and experiences again. All right, the last card that came out is the Star, and this is the guiding light. Upright, it speaks of hope, renewal, divine guidance, spiritual awakening, alignment with higher self, faith in the future, inspiration, and cosmic flow. The Star reminds you that you are not lost. You are exactly where you need to be. Keep following the light within you, and your path will unfold in ways more magical than you ever imagined, right? So we just have to be willing to work through the things that show up in our face, the things that, we struggle with, or the patterns that we continue to see. We just have to look at those and say, hey, okay, I'm going to change these. I'm not going to keep doing the same things. And that's the results, is the rewards, right? And I really feel like we're moving towards that bit of a level up experience. All right. I'll like my own live for a second here. All right. How are you doing? Where are you from? Are you watching on YouTube, or are you watching on Facebook? Say hi. Don't be shy. Like the live. All right. And on Saturday, just a reminder, on Saturday at 10:45 a.m. Mountain Time, we do the global meditation. Again, I do a check-in first, and then we start the meditation. And we're going to, like I said, we're going to be sending out lots of wonderful energy around the world. So the more that we can spread it out and share this global meditation, the better. So 10:45 a.m. Mountain Time, share, let people know, join me. All righty. So I have some notes of some things that I'm going to talk about tonight. Yeah. All righty. So I wanted to talk about clarity. And, right now, I think that a lot of us maybe have been sitting in a position where, time has been going faster, but then also slower. Like we're almost in this little bit of a void. We're waiting for something to happen, or we're waiting for something to change. Or, we're in this middle of making a decision, and, until you're clear, don't make the decision, right? You want to make sure that it's aligned with you appropriately. So what does clarity feel like for you? right? Do you know what that is? Can you feel it in your body? Can you, like, it's not necessarily just your thoughts, right? And realistically, when you look at your body, it's going to give you a lot more truth than what your mind is, right? Your mind is oftentimes attached to ego. It can even be hijacked. They talk about that in like the CIA classified files, right? So yeah, so we're just going to talk about clarity. Clarity doesn't feel dramatic. It doesn't feel intense, right? It's just very simple. It's almost when you feel it, you're like, that's it, right? You think it's something, it might be something more, that it needs to have more oomph or something, right? But there's no long explanation, there's no urgency, just a quiet knowing. And because it's simple, oftentimes we don't trust it because we have this mindset or this belief system where society has cultured us into believing that if it isn't super expensive or if this isn't really complex or, you know, whatever, that it doesn't, that's not right. And a lot of spiritual teachers make it seem like it's almost inaccessible to everybody else, or you can't get it unless you do this particular thing, or, you know, you do this ayahuasca journey, or you do this, you know, this retreat or whatever. And it's so accessible to everybody because it's within you, always. So when you connect with yourself and you allow yourself to feel what is true within your body, your discernment starts to get razor sharp, and you start to know what is aligned with you and what isn't, and what is in clarity and what is not. So what happens that it sometimes gets overridden? Well, typically what happens is we take something that's clear and we start adding to it, looking for confirmation, maybe asking more questions like, is this it? What else? What is possible? Right? And at the end of the day, you're trying to make sure that it's right. But the more that you keep tweaking it and trying to make it right, the less that it feels clear because you're questioning it in the moments of changing it, right? And it's not because it changed, like what you were focused on or the direction that you were headed in. It's the fact that you moved away from it by questioning and by doing all these things, looking for confirmation and stuff. Okay. So what we want to do is figure out there's that space that's between knowing and moving, right? There's that gap between knowing something and when you need to be acting on it. And that gap is where people hesitate because it's not that they don't know, it's just that they don't fully trust what they know yet. So they wait, or they go in circles, or they try to make it bigger than it is. But clarity doesn't expand like that. It just stays simple and it moves from one step to the next step to the next step, right? So moving without pressure is what we want, right? Because movement doesn't have to be big to be aligned. Sometimes the biggest movement you can make is something really, really tiny. And sometimes the biggest movement you can make is actually quiet, stillness, just to be patient, just to be peaceful, just to wait, right? But movement doesn't need to be big to be aligned. It just needs to match what you already know. And that's it. That's it. It just has to stay in alignment. So if you had a really great idea to create something and, you know, you're like, yeah, that's it. That's the idea. That's what I want to create. And then you start questioning it and you start tweaking it and you start modifying it and you start going on and on and on and on, right? Next thing you know, you're so far away from where you started with that inspirational idea that was aligned and that was just beautiful. And while there is refinement, you have to be careful that you're not tweaking it out of, say, fear of success or fear of failure or, you know, self-sabotage, all those little things that we like to do. So most people are trying to move too far ahead. Like they're just running. I did that last year. My company, I had so many people that were around me, but they were expecting a lot of handouts. And, you know, it was the way that I positioned myself, because after I did my healing journey, I was like, I'm going to save the world. I'm going to heal everybody. Right. And I came out as the wounded healer. And boy, oh boy, did I learn some lessons. And then after learning those lessons, I was like, well, nobody's going to get inside this wall here. They're not getting past that wall. And that really pushed the audience back more. And that also didn't suit me either. So I had to find that balance, right? So I went too far ahead. I was just like, I'm just going to get away from all of that stuff. And it wasn't about like running away from that stuff. It was just learning the experience and getting the boundaries that I should have had in the first place. And now I'm there where I have experienced both ends of the spectrum, where I had too soft of boundaries and then too hard of boundaries. And now it's just like Goldilocks. It's just right. All right. So we're going to do an embodiment practice, because I do that on every single one of my lives, because if you don't live it, it doesn't become true. So let's live it. All right. So we're just going to take a moment, and I want you to think about this question that I'm going to ask. And it is, what is something you already know that you've been questioning? I know exactly. Exactly. That's hilarious. And I don't want a whole list of things, just one thing, just one thing. And then when you figure out that one thing, I want you to ask yourself this question. Hi, Miriam. How are you? It's been a long time. How are you doing, love? So what is something you already know that you've been questioning? And then what would it look like to move with that without overthinking? Okay. You don't have to do anything like that. Just that step. You just want to know, what is something you know that you've been questioning, and what would it look like if you just moved? You didn't overthink it. You just moved. All righty. So if you're starting to see how often you override your own clarity and you want a way to come back to it without constantly going in circles, I have a couple of ways that you can do that. You can either join a free membership group, the Temple of Light, because that's the work we do inside there. It's steady and it's something that you build over time. Or you can check out Return to Center, which is a 10-day self-paced course that returns you to center. And it has a PDF filled with a whole bunch of bonuses. So at the end of the day, you end up with around 20 practices that you can do, and journal prompts and integration exercises. And they really do just help you return to center. They're little energetic practices, somatic practices. You know, I took all of the different areas that I learned from all of my trauma experience, and I put them together, and then I added in some spiritual stuff. So there's energy work in there as well. And it's not, you know, it's nothing big. It's not a big trauma program or anything like that. It's just something that helps you return to center. 30-minute exercises maximum per day, 10 days, plus the bonuses. And like I said, it just helps you to return to center. And we can all use that with all the chaos that's going on around here. And you don't need more clarity. You just need to stop moving away from the clarity you already have. Because how many times do you doubt yourself, right? How many times do you think right away you have this answer, right? Do you remember? I know I did this before, where I might have been in a relationship, and very early on in the relationship, maybe even in the dating stage, I was like, yeah, this person's not for me. Something maybe, right? But I overrid that. I totally overrode that. And I was like, no, this person's, yeah, absolutely. And you're just being silly, and it's just a fight or whatever it is, right? But you know, in your heart of hearts, like you really do know when it's aligned with you and when it's not. And that's the simpleness of clarity, right? When you sit and ask yourself the questions, like take a moment and breathe into your heart, and just breathe in and out. And maybe do 3 breaths and allow yourself to just settle down, close off the mind. And then you can ask yourself questions. And when you ask the question, your higher self, your oversoul, your higher power, whatever it is, they're very, very straightforward, right? I always think that, like your oversoul speaks to you more like you're a firm parent would. They're direct, they're loving, but it's a grounded energy. It's straightforward. It's not, I don't know. I don't know what we should do. Like your oversoul is never confused, or your higher self is never confused like that. It's not questioning, questioning, questioning. The questioning comes from the ego, because the ego is looking at things from that were happening yesterday to predict what's going to happen tomorrow, and the experiences that you had before are likely to happen again. So if they were bad experiences, you want to avoid it. If they were good experiences, you want to go towards it. And if they were bad experiences, you may even put yourself in a position where you're going to stay in the position with the bad experience that you have, because your mind says it could be worse. So you stay stuck because you're afraid to leave what's bad in fear of what may be worse. And those are all trappings of the ego. That's not your higher self. Your higher self knows exactly what's aligned for you and what's not aligned for you. And they sound like that, like they know it, right? They sound like they know what they're talking about, because they do. They do. All right. And wherever your clarity deepens, direction becomes visible. And you have to continue walking with awareness, right? The things that are going on out in the world right now, we have to be questioning them. We really, really have to be questioning them. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter whether, it doesn't matter what it is. Question your food, question everything. That's what you have the ability to do, because you're a sovereign being and you can do that. So question it. And then, investigate, do your own research. Don't take what somebody tells you as, gospel. Go and check it out yourself, right? There's so many lies and manipulations and distortions and illusions in this matrix that we're in, that, you really, really have to do your research, and, you have to pay attention. Got any questions? I can pull you a card from the 44 Keys of the Way Oracle. It's a cute little deck that I have. I can pull you a card from that. If you'd like. I never force anyone to have a card. I offer if it's available. Hi, how are you, Daria? Do you know what's really cool? You're 369 in there, and it's 396. I gave myself those. I didn't plan it. I just tapped, and when I stopped, it was that. I'm good. How are you? I found my calm space. I found, I found peace. And even when things aren't going well, or aren't, working out externally, or, the crazy chaos that's going on in the world, I found my peace. It's nice. Did you want a card? Yeah. I'm not sure if that yes is for the card or not. Well, I'm going to just keep shuffling then. All right. These are cute little cards. I painted all these pictures. All right. All right. Oh, that's beautiful. Okay. So this is one of the principles of the way. Okay. And this is the living presence. Your affirmation is, I stand fully present with my body and my life. Okay. Remembrance. Presence is the doorway through which clarity enters. When you are present, the past loosens and the future quiets. Your body becomes the anchor of truth, not your thoughts. From presence, choice becomes clean and responsive rather than reactive. And it's interesting talking about clarity. So you have a practice here. Your practice is to feel your feet, your seat, and your breath. Then name 3 sensations in your body and say, I am here. And continue for 90 seconds. There. So yeah, this was my spine, but it ended with a circle and a circle, not the pelvis bone or the, like up in the, I didn't draw it anatomically correct, although I could have, but it's because I wanted it to have the circles. I wanted it to be open, right? To show it like an opening. But because my friend goes, I'm like, I know, I'm a nurse. I was a nurse. I know. I also did all of the pictures in this deck here, which is the Etherian Tarot deck, and it's a 93 deck tarot that I did the pictures for too. Only these pictures, instead of these ones, I did with watercolor, and then I added some pencil work and stuff in it. But these ones here, I did all on Procreate. So hang on, and I'll get you a card from this one too. All right, can I get a message for Daria Spirit? Like a nice message. It's like being picky, and I like it. I like it. All right, message for Daria. Best message. Oh, I know which one it is. All right, so we've got the 10 of Earth, but the 10 of Earth in the reverse position. Okay, so the 10 of Earth is typically talking about like legacy and stability. So when it's in the reverse, it can mean that there may be a fear of loss, or there's some instability. I have a hair somewhere. There, I think I got it. So it could be that there were short-term gains over long-term vision, or a disconnection from lineage, or just financial mismanagement. And I feel like it's just insecurity. And right now there is a lot of insecurity, unfortunately, right? That's going on. But I'm going to read the message that comes with it, because I think that is the guidance that goes along with it. So the 10 of Earth reminds you that true prosperity extends beyond personal wealth. It's about creating something meaningful, stable, and enduring. Whether it's through financial investments, family connections, or passing down wisdom, you're blazing the groundwork for a future of security, abundance, and fulfillment. So it is coming. It's a delay right now. And what I'm getting from from what I'm channeling through is that the best thing for you right now is going to be finding that calm space, or that balanced center, and staying within that space. So no matter what's going on out there, no matter what's going on with the finances, no matter what's going on with anything, that you stay in as high a vibration as you can. And when those waves of emotion come up, just allow it to rise. Don't make meaning out of it. Let it flow out, whatever it is. Like if you have the feeling like you need to cry, then do that release, and then, do something, ask your body what it needs, and then do that. Right. So if your body says, hey, I want to sing karaoke, let's do that, then do that. If it wants to go for a walk, do that. If it just wants you to hold it, do that. Right. And just listen to what your body needs. You're welcome. Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you're not following me, please do, and definitely come back and visit. I do global meditations on Saturday at 10:45, and on Sunday I do a celestial check-in. For the week, I check the true sky. So I check the actual living planets. I have the sky live, and I track the planets over the week to see what they're doing, and then say how we're going to work with that energy. This is important. And then on Wednesdays is embodied wisdom. So we're just talking about how we can live and embody the truth of who and what we are, and how we're meant to live, right? So it's just about living how we're supposed to, as energy beings, as batteries, as thank you. Thank you for following me. Definitely check out I have two other channels. Sha'Ryah and Lorian is the other channel that is aligned with this one. So that's my soul name, is Sha'Ryah and Lorian. And I also write my spiritual books under that name. So that's my other channel. And the other channel that I have is One Truth Sets You Free. And that's my podcast channel. And that's where I talk about how money's an illusion. And I talk about I talk about all kinds of things. I talk about the power of language. I talk about the matrix. I talk about, all those kind of things. So you can check out those two channels for those. Yep. Yeah. Yep. I do lots of things. I have Aries rising, true sidereal. I do readings in astrology and tarot on my website. I do trauma healing, nervous system support. I was a registered nurse for over 20 years, studied in a whole bunch of other things. If you go to my website, which is linked in my bio, I have all my social links are on there. Like I'm pretty sure for all 3 YouTube and TikTok channels. But actually here, I can put a message on here. I forgot. I can do this. It's been a while, but I can do it. How's the where do we put the comments? Oh my goodness. Nope. I don't remember how to comment on my own video. Oh, found it. I did it. I did it. Okay. So the one is, I want to put it back in the, give them big at, where's the at? That's the one. Okay. I had to make sure I didn't make the typo in it. There we go. Okay. And then this is the other one. Oh. Okay. There's the two of them. Yeah, so I was talking about how I started off, right? I went from nursing after I did my healing journey and started my company, Mind, Body, Spirit, Healthy Self, because you have to have all 3 healthy to have a healthy self. And I did that for a while, worked with people with trauma and but because I was operating from a space that was still somewhat unhealed, and by that I mean I was the wounded healer. So I was like, I'm going to help everybody. I'm going to save everybody. I'm going to heal the world. And so I got a lot of people that were looking for freebies and handouts. And after a few years, like about 3 years of doing that, I had so many people around me, but most of them weren't like, I was just giving people stuff over and over and over. And I had to learn not to give so much and to have boundaries. So I had a series of losses of friendships and, people that I consider to be family and soul family. And I loved so much. And, it was waves of 3 too. It was 3 at a time, 3. And just like, you just get past that. And then another 3 and you just get past that. And then the next 3. And I was like, oh my God. So I lost 9 people, like in groups of 3. And then I just, like everything just kind of shifted from there. And so I went from being what I would say was like a mom with no boundaries. And then I turned into like a Capricorn dad that was just like so firm. And I shut myself off and I was like, I'm just going to deliver content. I'm just going to, I'm just going to teach and be done. But I'm not opening myself to people because, well, they just take from you and then they hurt you and leave you. And I was just like, no. So I went the opposite way. And I like to think of it as I was in my feminine energy when I came out of my healing journey, but not my healthy feminine. And then I went into my masculine, but again, it wasn't. Now I'm balanced, and it's nice. And it took a bit to get here, but I'm fairly happy with the journey that I've been. It's been colorful, I'll say that, and that's the important part, right? So yeah. That's how I got here. And I transitioned as well when I went through it. So I focus now on ascension. Part of my spiritual awakening. So I have a lot of access to information. I can access the Akashic records very easily. I'm a direct channel and an intuitive as well. And when I do my trauma healing, I'm also a master level quantum regression and integration therapist. I created a program called Trauma Awareness to help guide practitioners, as well as family members, anybody really who wants to know about trauma, but also have practical tools to support it. I created that program as well, although that's no longer listed on my site. You'd have to talk to me if you wanted access to that. But yeah, I transitioned into more of helping people on their path of awakening, as opposed to in the bottom with that. But then I realized that I don't want to close myself off to helping people with trauma, because it's a part of our entire journey. I'm still moving through it. This last little bit, I've been healing some of my masculine traumas that were so deeply ingrained in us, right? That little girl that thinks that somebody's going to come and save them. And gosh, maybe my dad would just be a dad and just be, like, and just waiting for that masculine that stands there and actually shows you that that's what a good man, right? And so when I realized what that is that's the masculine in you that stands up and becomes the proper masculine, and you heal the feminine in you too, and then you stand in sacred union yourself. Now in sacred union, you have beautiful boundaries, and you wait for alignment. So hang on, I need to sip because my throat was getting dry when I was doing that. Say hello. Okay, so the term Christic, it just means the truth beyond distortion. That's all it is, right? It has nothing to do with religion or anything like that. I believe that within every single religious text, there are truths, but there are also distortions and manipulations that have been put in there in order to control and suppress us. The same as there is throughout the rest of everything within society, right? Our food, our air, our water, what they tell us about who and what we are, what they tell us about our history, stuff like that. If you start, yep, exactly. For anyone that has pattern recognition, anyone that's, any one of us that's on this awakening path that is seeing behind the veil and knows, we've seen the Wizard of Oz. We know it's, we know it's a puppet show, like, just bring them out now. For those of us that know those things, if you're, about Tartaria, or, about all of these other things, right, then you're somebody that I would say is applying the Christic truth, right? If you just keep seeking the truth out. Yep, exactly. I have membership groups on my website. I teach here as well. I teach in alignment with what I do call the way, and that's because that's what, when we look at it, a lot of belief is that Yeshua, or Jesus, that he came to, teach Christianity. But if you go into the spiritual community, into the spiritual community, people don't necessarily agree with that. They think that, and this is something that I agree and also have knowledge of, or knowing in my body, right? It resonates very firmly within my body, or claircognizance. And Yeshua was a shaman mystic. He came to teach the things that, we're all learning about now, that, your spine is an antenna. He learned breath work. He knew mudras and mantras. And no, I'm spiritual. I do believe in God, but I believe that God is a divine mother, father, source that created all. I think that, and I do believe that the Bible has distortions in it, but I do believe there's lots of truths within it. True. Same thing with the Quran, and the same thing with the the Talmud and the Torah. Same thing, all of them, every single book, right? Because everything is a bit to distort, or it's built to control. A lot of it's built to control. Like, the story's been distorted, right? The things that they incorporated into it, the true God that exists doesn't exist to punish us, doesn't exist to judge us. There's no judgment in that sense. We do want to evolve our souls and have soul growth. So we do want to learn things and evolve. And that's what we're doing in our pathway here. But many of us, the main reason why we're here is for the whole ascension process, right? As we ascend, we help Mother Gaia ascend. And that's what we're trying to do, right? There really is a spiritual war that's going on right now. And many of us are here for that. when we talk about the 144,000, that's a frequency, right? When you look at your oversoul, your oversoul is governing. There's 12 fractals of yourself that can be at any point in time living. You could have one living in a different timeline. You could have one living in a different dimension. You could have one that is, like a master, ascended master. And those are all parts of, your core, your oversoul. It's quite interesting this is what the truths that I've come to know through my channelings and through my teachings and learnings and readings and, like Gnostic texts and, other ones that are out there. Right. And that's the thing that many of us are. If I was always somebody, I just love learning. I loved finding the truth. Right. No, I think that the Bibles, I think that does, and so if you go back all the way to, if you went back to the Ethiopian Bible or the earliest Bible, the earliest records of the Bibles, right? The only time that you can even consider it to be accurate, and it still isn't 100% accurate, but the only way is if you had all of the book, all of it, every last little bit of it, right? But we don't. And that in and of itself explains that there's some truths or misconceptions or deceptions, illusions, whatever. But the thing is that they hijacked the God in the Bible to make him a punitive, judgy God. And they hijacked the whole story to make it seem like we sinned and we have to come back from sin. And we're just like, we're born dirty and, yucky. And that's not the truth, right? Oh yeah, I believe in God. Yeah. Oh yeah. Mother, father, source, like a divine because it's a mother, father. It's not, it's not just a masculine energy or just a feminine energy. Right. I don't know if you would classify it as a God from a Bible like that. Right. This is, I think this is what many people who are spiritualists, that they would believe, right? That God is that the creator of all is the combination of masculine and feminine energy. It's actually a tri. There's the three, right? Because you have the masculine, the feminine, and then you have the sacred union, right? So there's the third. Not quite. But that would be closer to it. That would be closer to it. Like God is the energy that runs through, is the breath, it's the water, it's the life force that animates you, and that exists in everything, right? Although when you get into the distortion, right? So the earth has been hijacked, right? We're currently living in a hijacked earth, right? So where it's been hijacked from, those that built the distortions into things, that's the whole. That's I lost my train of thought. I'm sorry. I read that's Egyptian, and then I had walk like an Egyptian pop. That's right out of my head. I apologize. I'll hope that it comes back to me in a minute. Yeah. There's the tri-energy of everything. Like the marriage of the masculine and feminine within you is sacred union, right? It's the Heros Gamos. I don't think that, and when we look at does your God have a name, I think that it's beyond name. It's beyond sound, right? Yeah. Yeah, more than likely, yeah. I know it's ancient. I know that. I know it's an ancient belief, because I've carried it with me always. Yeah. 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 Definitely no. Definitely no. And what's your God? Is source. It's creator, prime source, prime creator. There's many different names, and that's because it's beyond name. When you get into the distortions, like it gets really complicated, and I'm always looking at it and I'm like, ooh, I'm on I'm still on social media. So what am I supposed to not not be saying that's gonna, potentially get me shadow banned or something like that? What could be used for any god in any religion? Hi, son of God. I don't know if you stopped and stuck it out, but that's interesting. All about the beyond name part. Is that what you mean? So there is the concept of Yahweh, right? Source, yeah. For me, to be very clear, I tend to say prime source, prime creator, or mother, father, divine. And sometimes I mix them together, right? That's what I say. That's what I call my God. But that's because I don't want there to be any misunderstanding. I don't use the word God because it has been co opted and it has been hijacked to reference over something else. I would say I would be more Gnostic than anything. That would be closer to the truth. But yeah, omniscient, that would be better. Omniscient, where you believe, where there's bits of all, bits of all. Omniscient is the correct term. Yeah. There's bits of truth in all. There's beauty in the Quran. The Quran was, in the parts of the Quran that are aligned with the truth, beautiful. Same thing with the Torah, same thing within the Bible. Like when you extract the truth from the Bible, there's beauty in all of them. But it's the problem is that in every single one of them, there's also so many corruptions, so many distortions. And every one of them is meant to disconnect you from source, to make you think that you need an intermediary, that I somehow need either a church, a priest, somebody to give me access to God, or I have to, I don't immediately always have that I'm somehow damaged, or that I would be not accepted by God at any point. Like that's just that those are all just so wrong, so wrong. Great conversation. Thank you for that. So yeah, that's what I truth. Yeah. Yep. And I think that as we move, as we keep working through the awakening process, right? As we keep working through that, I think that those of us that, do end up evolving or ascending to the new earth, right? Which is a creation process, right? We have to be creating the new earth that we're ascending, right? As we ascend. But those that don't, they won't know the true word, but the others will, because once we ascend, right, as we ascend, then the veil goes away and we will have our own remembrance of all of it. Yep, it is. Yeah, for a while I was Christian. I had a weird experience. My parents weren't super religious. Like my mom would, occasionally mention God or whatever, or say that she was Presbyterian and things like that. But when I was a child, I had a thing with like a sexual thing. Like I was touched, but I thought I was the bad person. So I took myself to Sunday school. Like I basically took myself to church because I had to repent for my sins. And so I went to Sunday school, and my brother and cousins would walk me to school and drop me off. And I left that after a while. I left that, and well, later when I was an adult, I was Christian my partner was Christian. So, I was Christian for a while. I worked at a Christian church and stuff like that. But I wasn't I didn't go to church or anything like that. I've been to church a few times, but it just wasn't something that I was raised with to have that practice. And at the end of the day, it makes sense anyway. To me, my church is outside. My church is in the woods and with nature and with myself, right? Within, right? I go within to connect with my higher power and we're with, source. So yeah, well, that was a really good conversation. Thank you. Please do follow me and come back. I love to engage and I'm looking for a new tribe. Anyone's welcome. I call us the Rainbow Tribe. Yeah. Yeah, I have several friends that have left the church to be just to be spiritual. That it's not about leaving God, it's about leaving behind the lies. Mm-hmm. Did you want a card? Ooh, these are, I have, I have two decks of cards. The one deck of cards I have is Oracle, and they are called the 44 Keys of the Way. And then the other ones are tarot, and they're the Etherian tarot. They have the fifth element, the ether element, and also the cosmic key as an additional card. I made both decks. These ones I painted with watercolors, and those ones I painted in Procreate. Yeah. That's interesting, right? And I just think it's really cool to be able to actually interact. And yeah, I love learning all the stories too. I looked at a bunch of, I read too many to say. Yeah. But I love learning all the different things, all the stories. Oh, thanks. I love talking to you too. It's been a great conversation. And that's what I was going to say is it's really nice that you can have an open conversation when, two people have different viewpoints, and that's absolutely okay. There's nothing wrong with it. It's not like, oh my God, you think that, or, oh, you don't believe what I believe. It's cool. It's cool. There's different viewpoints. I can say, I know. I can say, I know all I want. But until the end of the day, when I, go beyond, right, that's when I'm going to, when somebody else might be able to say, you were right. And it's not about being right anyway. What other questions do you have? I don't know how much more time I have tonight for the live, but what more questions do you have? I'll see if I can think of what my answer is off the top of my head. Cass, the Fuggler monster. My dog's name is Cass. He's napping. I don't think I'd call him the Fuggler monster though. I forgot my comments. I apologize. All right. All right, I'm going to sign off up here because there's no one currently watching on that stream, and we're just about at an hour. And then I'm just going to converse here on TikTok since you're not getting that other part of the conversation. It might be a little bit weird anyway. So We'll catch you on Saturday at 10:45 a.m. for the global meditation, return to center, and we'll see you then.